A black belt asked a simple woman to fight as a joke. But what happened next silenced the entire gym. Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest secrets, and Tyler Garrison was about to learn why you should never judge a book by its cover. Rebecca Thompson pushed through the heavy glass doors of Master Kim's Martial Arts Academy, her worn sneakers squeaking softly against the polished floor. The familiar scent of sweat, discipline, and determination hung in the air, wrapping around her as she scanned the room for her daughter. "Mom's here," Chloe called out, waving from across the blue mats where she practiced with 3 other teens. Rebecca's tired face softened into a smile. At 38, she had grown comfortable with her simple appearance. Oversized gray t-shirt, loose sweatpants, graying hair tucked casually behind her ear. No makeup, no flash. Life had taught her long ago that what matters most can't always be seen on the outside. "Take your time, sweetheart," Rebecca called back as she settled onto a bench. Pulling out her phone, she scrolled through emails while keeping one eye on her daughter. Across the mats, the sharp voice of Tyler Garrison rang out. Head instructor, black belt, a man who carried himself with the swagger of someone who had never been challenged. "Higher kicks, Jenkins!" Your grandmother could do better. His voice cut like a whip. Nervous chuckles rippled through the class, but none dared push back. Tyler thrived on that mix of fear and respect. Rebecca watched quietly. His technique was clean, yes, his form sharp. But the arrogance, it bled through every move. She had seen his kind before, skilled enough to impress, arrogant enough to forget humility. "Sensei Tyler is tough," whispered one mother in the viewing area. "But he gets results," another replied quickly. "My son earned his brown belt faster than anywhere else." The conversation trailed off when Tyler corrected another student with unnecessary force. Rebecca said nothing, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Minutes later, Chloe jogged over, her cheeks flushed with effort. "Ready to go, Mom?" "I just need my water bottle." "Of course, honey. How was practice?" "Good. Sensei Tyler showed us new combos. He says I might test for my green belt next month." Rebecca's chest filled with quiet pride. Chloe had struggled with confidence before joining the academy. Now she was blooming, stronger, bolder, more sure of herself. That alone made every monthly payment worth it. But before they could leave, Tyler's booming voice rang out across the dojo. "All right, everyone. Before we bow out, who wants to see something entertaining?" The chatter died instantly. Dozens of eyes turned toward him. Rebecca felt her stomach knot. His grin was too wide, too forced, and his gaze locked onto her like a predator selecting prey. "You know what?" he said slowly, milking the silence. "I think we need a demonstration to show why ordinary folks shouldn't mess with trained fighters." The parents shifted in their seats. Students exchanged wary glances. This was not part of the usual program. "Mom, let's just go," Chloe whispered, tugging her sleeve. But Tyler wasn't finished. With deliberate strides, he crossed the mats, each step echoing like a drumbeat. The dojo air thickened with tension. Rebecca rose slowly, instincts firing. Whatever he planned, it wasn't out of kindness. "Ma'am," Tyler said loudly, making sure the whole room could hear. "I don't believe we've met." "You're Chloe's mom, right?" "That's correct," Rebecca replied, calm despite the eyes burning into her. His smile widened. All show, no warmth. "Since you've been sitting here watching, I was wondering, ever been curious about martial arts yourself?" Rebecca felt Chloe's nervous palm slip into her own. "Not particularly," she answered truthfully. "Oh, come on," Tyler pressed, theatrically projecting his voice. "Bet you've watched all those action movies thinking, I could do that, right?" Nervous chuckles trickled through the room. A few parents looked away, ashamed to watch. "Actually, I haven't," Rebecca said evenly. "We should be going." "Chloe has homework." But Tyler wasn't letting go. He stepped closer, his voice dropping low enough to seem personal, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Tell you what, let's do a little demonstration. Nothing serious, just a quick spar. Show the difference between real training and wishful thinking. Chloe's face went pale. Sensei Tyler, my mom doesn't... It's okay, sweetheart. Rebecca cut in softly, though her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Tyler clapped his hands together. Excellent! Don't worry, Mrs. Thompson, I'll go easy. Wouldn't want to hurt someone who's never thrown a real punch. His voice dripped with condescension. Now even the students shifted uneasily. Some looked ashamed, others entertained. This isn't necessary, Rebecca said calmly. Oh, but it is, Tyler insisted, spreading his arms dramatically. Too many people think they're tough because of what they see on TV. Time for a reality check. Suburban mom fitness isn't combat training. The insult stung the air. Something inside Rebecca stirred, not anger, but a familiar coldness she hadn't felt in years. What's the worst that could happen? Tyler smirked. A few gentle moves, maybe a takedown. Consider it a free lesson in humility. Rebecca looked down at her daughter's wide, worried eyes, then back at Tyler's smug face. One condition, she said quietly. Tyler raised an eyebrow. Oh? And what's that? When this is over, you apologize to your students for this display. His laughter was sharp, mocking. Apologize? Lady, you'll be apologizing to the floor once you hit it. Students flinched at his cruelty, but Rebecca simply nodded, removing her jacket. Lean, toned arms revealed themselves, evidence of quiet strength that no one had expected. Mom, you don't have to do this, Chloe whispered. Rebecca gave her hand a gentle squeeze. Sometimes, honey, bullies need to be reminded. Strength comes in many forms. She stepped onto the mat, and with each step, the tired walk of a suburban mother melted away. In its place came the fluid, measured stride of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. The gym fell silent. Even Tyler missed the change, too busy smirking for his audience. All right, folks, gather around, he called. Let's make this educational. What Tyler didn't know, what nobody in that dojo knew, was that Rebecca Thompson had once been Rebecca Chen, three-time world champion, a fighter so precise, so devastating, they had called her the Silent Storm. But tragedy had stolen that life from her. Her brother, also a fighter, had died rushing to one of her matches. Racked with guilt, she had walked away forever. 13 years of silence, 13 years of restraint. Now, standing in front of Tyler, that storm stirred again, not for glory, not for fame, but for something far greater. Respect. You ready, Mrs. Thompson? Tyler called, bouncing on his toes in what he thought was an intimidating stance. Rebecca closed her eyes briefly, grounding herself. Her breathing slowed. Around the room, a hush fell. Even those who didn't understand martial arts sensed something had shifted. Remember, kids, Tyler announced, still showboating, this is why we train seriously. You can't fake experience. The irony wasn't lost on Rebecca. She had faced world champions. Tyler had no idea what kind of experience stood before him. Any last words before we begin? He asked, dripping false courtesy. Rebecca met his gaze for the first time. What he saw there, cold, calculating focus, made him instinctively step back. It wasn't fear. It was the gaze of a predator who had been pretending to be prey. Yes, she said quietly, her voice carrying through the silent dojo. Remember this. The strongest people are often the ones who choose not to show their strength. For the first time, Tyler's confident smirk faltered, but pride pushed him forward. He stretched dramatically, throwing high kicks and air punches to impress the audience. The students cheered nervously, while parents exchanged worried glances. Rebecca remained motionless, perfectly calm, her stance balanced and precise. Those who knew enough to notice could see it. Her lowered center of gravity, her weight evenly distributed, her body coiled like a spring. "Mom, please," Chloe whispered from the sidelines. "You don't have to prove anything." Rebecca smiled softly. "Sometimes, sweetheart, it's not about proving. It's about teaching. Hope you've said your prayers, Mrs. Thompson," Tyler taunted. "This might hurt a little," parents whispered anxiously. "Should we stop this?" one father asked. "How?" "He's the instructor." "Besides," she agreed, another replied. But Rebecca wasn't paying attention to their murmurs. She closed her eyes again for a moment. Her body remembered. The thousands of hours of training, the timing, the rhythm, the way energy could be redirected. When she opened her eyes, she wasn't a tired suburban mom anymore. She was a fighter. Tyler noticed the change and frowned. "So, you've taken a few self-defense classes at the community center, huh?" "Something like that," Rebecca answered softly. "Well, it won't help you here." Tyler began circling her, lecturing his students as if this was still a show. "This is what happens when people overestimate themselves. Real combat isn't like the movies." Rebecca tracked him silently, unmoving. To the untrained eye, she looked passive, defenseless even. But anyone who knew real combat could see it. Her stillness wasn't weakness. It was precision. "The truth is," Tyler went on, "martial arts takes years of dedication. You can't just watch a few videos and think you're ready." "You're absolutely right," Rebecca said calmly. Tyler blinked, surprised by her agreement. "Exactly. So maybe we should call this off before—" "No," Rebecca interrupted gently, her voice clear. "You wanted to teach a lesson about martial arts. Let's teach one." The certainty in her tone rippled across the dojo. Students shifted uneasily. Parents leaned forward. Even Tyler looked unsettled, but pride chained him to the performance. "Fine," he growled, settling into his fighting stance. "But don't say I didn't warn you." With that, Tyler lunged forward with a textbook right cross, a strike that had floored countless beginners. Fast, powerful, perfectly delivered. But it never landed. Rebecca flowed like water, stepping aside at the exact moment. His punch sliced through nothing but air. The movement was so clean, so subtle, that many spectators weren't sure she had even moved. Tyler stumbled slightly, his momentum carrying him past her. That punch had never failed him before. "Lucky dodge," he muttered, resetting. "Won't happen again." Rebecca said nothing, calmly returning to her stance. This time Tyler attacked with a furious combination: jab, cross, hook. His form was sharp, his power undeniable. But Rebecca moved like smoke, slipping each punch by millimeters, her body swaying effortlessly out of range. She looked almost untouchable, as if she knew every strike before he threw it. The room grew tense. The playful energy vanished, replaced by stunned silence. Even the youngest students sensed they were witnessing something extraordinary. Sweat beaded on Tyler's forehead. His confidence cracked. None of his strikes came close. "Stand still and fight!" he snapped, his voice rising in frustration. He launched into an even more aggressive flurry of punches and kicks. Rebecca's movements grew even smoother, each dodge bringing her closer. Step by step, she closed the distance, while Tyler wasted energy with wild, desperate attacks. "What's she doing?" whispered one teenage student. "She's making him tired," another observed wisely. Tyler, now panting, threw a wild haymaker with all his strength. Rebecca ducked under it effortlessly, and for the first time touched him. Just a light tap to his ribs as he stumbled past. The tap was gentle, but its message was clear. "I could have hurt you. I chose not to." Tyler spun around, face red with panic. "What are you playing at?" "Fight back." "I am fighting," Rebecca said quietly. "I'm just choosing how." The weight of her words hung in the room. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't even trying to win. She was controlling the fight completely. Breath ragged, Tyler went for broke. Dropping low, he rushed forward in a takedown attempt, using his wrestling background to try and overpower her. His size and momentum had ended many matches before. But against Rebecca, it was the worst move he could have made. Instead of retreating, she stepped into his charge, her hands locked on the back of his head and shoulders. With perfect timing, she redirected his force downward. Tyler's body crashed face first into the mat with a thunderous thud. The dojo erupted in gasps. Students' jaws dropped. Parents froze in disbelief. Tyler lay stunned, not just by the impact, but by the impossible reality. He had attacked with everything, and yet here he was, humbled, while Rebecca stood calm and steady, barely breaking a sweat. Tyler, now panting, threw a wild haymaker with all his strength. Rebecca ducked under it effortlessly, and for the first time, touched him, just a light tap to his ribs as he stumbled past. The tap was gentle, but its message was clear. I could have hurt you. I chose not to. Tyler spun around, face red with panic. What are you playing at? Fight back. I am fighting, Rebecca said quietly. I'm just choosing how. The weight of her words hung in the room. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't even trying to win. She was controlling the fight completely. Breath ragged, Tyler went for broke. Dropping low, he rushed forward in a takedown attempt, using his wrestling background to try and overpower her. His size and momentum had ended many matches before. But against Rebecca, it was the worst move he could have made. Instead of retreating, she stepped into his charge, her hands locked on the back of his head and shoulders. With perfect timing, she redirected his force downward. Tyler's body crashed face first into the mat with a thunderous thud. The dojo erupted in gasps. Students' jaws dropped. Parents froze in disbelief. Tyler lay stunned, not just by the impact, but by the impossible reality. He had attacked with everything, and yet here he was, humbled, while Rebecca stood calm and steady, barely breaking a sweat. The dojo was silent except for Tyler's heavy breathing as he pushed himself up, humiliated. His face burned red, part from impact, part from shame. This isn't possible, he muttered, trying to save face in front of his students. You got lucky. Rebecca tilted her head, her calm eyes never leaving him. There's no luck here. Only preparation and respect. Her words landed heavier than any punch. Students whispered, wide-eyed, as their image of Tyler cracked. The instructor they had looked up to now looked small, beaten not by a rival champion, but by the mother of one of their classmates. You think this proves something? Tyler snapped, scrambling for authority. You embarrassed me in front of my students. You don't belong here. Rebecca stepped closer, her presence commanding but never aggressive. What doesn't belong here, she said softly, is arrogance parading as teaching. Martial arts isn't about ego. It's about discipline, honor, respect, qualities you've forgotten. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Parents nodded in agreement. Even a few students looked down, ashamed that they had once cheered his mockery. Chloe's eyes shone with pride, though she stayed quiet. For the first time, she saw the woman behind her mother's gentle smile, the warrior she had been hiding all these years. Tyler staggered to his feet, shaking his head. You don't know what you're talking about. Rebecca's gaze sharpened. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I fought for years against people far stronger than you. And I learned that true strength isn't about domination. It's about restraint. It's about protecting, not humiliating. The words hit the room like thunder. Every student listened, hanging on to each syllable. You call yourself an instructor? She continued, her tone firm. Then act like one. Inspire them. Teach them to be better. Not to mock the weak, but to help them grow. Tyler swallowed hard. For the first time, he had no comeback. His students, once hanging on his every word, now looked at Rebecca with awe. One brave boy raised his hand timidly. Mrs. Thompson, can you be our teacher instead? The dojo erupted in nervous laughter, but it carried weight. Parents exchanged approving nods. Even the younger kids clapped softly. Tyler froze, humiliated beyond words. His reign as the untouchable instructor was over. He knew it. Everyone knew it. Rebecca shook her head gently. "No," she said, turning toward her daughter. "I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm just here to remind you all what this is supposed to mean." Her eyes swept across the room, catching each student's gaze. Martial arts isn't about being the strongest in the room. It's about being the strongest for the room. Remember that the silence that followed was heavy, respectful, powerful. Tyler lowered his head. Whether from shame or realization, no one could tell. Rebecca reached for Chloe's hand, guiding her toward the door. But just before leaving, she turned back one final time. "Strength without humility is weakness," she said. "And weakness dressed as strength? That's just a mask." With that, she walked out, her daughter by her side, leaving behind a room forever changed. For years, Rebecca had hidden her past. Tonight, it came alive. Not for fame, not for victory, but to protect her daughter and to teach a lesson that would outlive the bruises. Respect is stronger than pride, and humility is stronger than ego. As the door closed behind them, whispers filled the dojo. Students replayed every move in their minds. Parents exchanged knowing looks, and Tyler stood alone in the silence he had created. But one thing was certain. No one there would ever forget the night Rebecca Thompson reminded them what a true martial artist looks like. So, what about you? Do you think strength is measured in power, or in the choice to hold it back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more powerful stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now.